Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to watch this talk, and thanks for ETHGlobal for having me here. My name is Tom Brand. I'm the product lead of Starknet at Starkware, and today we're going to talk about Starknet. We'll go over what we see, what is Starknet, what is the vision, on what foundations it lies, and how we plan to reach there, or what is the roadmap towards Starknet. So let's dive in. Yeah, so Starknet, in one sentence, is a decentralized permissionless ZK rollup, which offers scalable and secure Ethereum-like state. And what I mean by that, so first of all, it's a ZK rollup. I won't dive into what is exactly ZK rollup here. You can see it online and on other talks, but generally speaking, it's the mechanism of offloading from L1 or mainnet, both computation and storage, and moving into L2, and using a proof system, and specifically in Starknet, Stark proofs, in order to securely prove state transitions on L1. So Starknet is a ZK rollup. It will be permissionless, both for, of course, for the user, so everybody will be able to use it, but it will be permissionless for the operators and for the provers. And the Ethereum-like state means that developers will be able to deploy Starknet contracts, which are the equivalent of Solidity smart contracts, which will support general computation, and they will all be deployed in a one single composable state, meaning all the contracts will be able to interact with each other. So this is our vision to Starknet. And before we go to understand how we plan to reach there, it's very important to understand that Starknet lies on a very strong foundations. So Starkware is live almost 3 years, and we've been developing really hard in those 3 years the Stark stack. And what I'm going to describe now is how we plan on what technology we plan to build Starknet. So first of all, we have Cairo, which is also what we offer here on ETHGlobal to developers to develop. But basically, it's our Turing complete language for scaling dapps using Starks. I will get to it in a second. But Cairo is what allows us to write the stack for Starknet. Next, we have our Stark provers. So once you write your program and you want to generate a proof to it, you need to have strong provers. And our provers are, at least as far as we know and as far as was proved on mainnet, are the most powerful provers in the world. And lastly, we have StarkX, which is an actual ZK rollup application, which works in production, which uses both Cairo and the Stark provers. And it's a real live application that allows us to make sure that the technology that we develop actually works. So let's dive into each one of those a little bit and understand how they allow us to later build Starknet. So first of all, Cairo. I won't dive deeply into Cairo here because during this global hackathon, there are many talks that Starkware has given and is going to give about Cairo. So first of all, on Monday, we had a workshop which included an intro to Cairo and a live coding session. I encourage you to come to our Discord channel and search for it there. Eli also gave a talk, Eli Ben Sasson, our president and co-founder, also gave a talk about how Cairo changed the paradigm for writing proofs and why if you want to build on Starknet, you should first go learn Cairo. And next week on Friday, Shahar Papini, which is one of the inventors of Cairo, is going to give a talk that technically explain how we built Cairo and how it works. So what is important for us to understand is that Cairo is allows anyone to write any program that they want, and all those programs, a proof that is generated for those programs can all be verified in one smart contract. So this is the first thing that allows us to use Cairo in order to build Starknet, which hold many programs. Second of all, Cairo was built to be efficient and secure, meaning that even if we want to take a very big computational statements, for example, a batch of many transactions, we are able to generate a proof to it in a very short time. And it is also very secure, meaning there are ways that we can audit and test a program and know that it is secure. Most important is to understand that this is already in production on mainnet. On July, we demonstrated a program on the Reddit's scaling bake-off. And since November, all Starknet systems use Cairo. It is available to the public, as you may know, and this is actually what we offer developers to build in the hackathon. And all the information that you need in order to start developing in Cairo is you can find out through the site cairolang.org. Perfect. Now that we understand Cairo, or maybe I would add just one sentence. So why Cairo is important for Starknet? Because for two reasons. First of all, it allows us to write what we call the Starknet OS, which is the base layer. You can think of it as the EVM, which runs the logic of the state transitions of Starknet. Now, since Cairo is just like writing a program and it is very efficient, it also means that Starknet and proving state transitions of Starknet will be very efficient. And second, Starknet contracts, the native language that they will be written, I'm not talking about transpilers from higher languages or from Solidity, will be written in Cairo. So this also allows us to give a lot of flexibility to developers to, and maybe I will go into it later, but to write very efficient dapps. Okay, great. Now we understand Cairo. The next foundation is the Stark provers. So as I've said, they are the most powerful provers in the world, and they power all StarkX deployment since June 2020 on mainnet. I may be repeating myself that that our technology is on mainnet, but I think it's a very important thing to understand. So just some Stark Guinness record. So the Reddit scaling bake-off, as I've said, was on July 2020. It was a rollup, meaning that the data was on chain. And there we generated proofs of 300K transactions in a single proof, which resulted in an amazing gas price per transaction of 315. In immutable StarkX deployment, which is live on mainnet since last week, in order to move their state from L1 to L2, we generated huge proofs of NFTs, which actually minted them on L2. So we generated proofs of 600K NFTs mint in a single proofs, which resulted in less than 10 gas per mint, right? So what those provers allows us in the context of Starknet is the ability to generate huge proofs, which results in a very high scale. Not only that we're able to generate very big proofs, we are also able to generate in a reasonable amount of time. Those two parameters allows us to have a lot of flexibility in the way we construct the protocol of Starknet. And lastly, the last foundation is StarkX itself. Already today, there are multiple deployments on mainnet. So we have, wait, I'll go a step backward. So StarkX is a ZK rollup application. Starknet is a ZK rollup platform or layer, which allows many contracts to be deployed on top of it. And StarkX is a specific application. So we have Diversify, which supports payments and spot trading. We have the YDX, which supports derivatives trading. And we have ImmutableX, which supports minting and trading of NFTs. And we have more coming, which hopefully we'll announce publicly soon. And what Starknet actually gives us is the ability to dog food our tool chain and technology and build it against real world needs. We're working with customers, we're working in a production environment, and this allows us to make sure that both approvers, both Cairo and all the development tools that we are developing are actually able to build real world applications. Perfect. So now that we understood the foundations of Starknet, or where we are today, we can go and understand how we plan to achieve Starknet. And as we do everything on Starkware, this is also we will do in a stepwise approach. And what I mean by that is that first we will the first step is planets, and in this step we will build the basic building block of Starknet, which is the Starknet contract. In the next step, we will take this Starknet contract and put it in a one composable state with many other contracts. And the last step is, once we have this composable state, we can decentralize the network and have permissionless operators and provers. So let's go into each one of those steps and understand it a little bit better. Okay, I see that okay, perfect. So as I've said, the first step is a single Up Rollup, and this is already expected on testnet in a few weeks. I think it will be mid-May, maybe a little bit later. But what, as I've said, this basic step is developing the Starknet contract. So what developers will be able to do at this step is to write Starknet contracts, deploy them on Starknet, and run them. What I mean by run them is send transactions to them, update their storage, and those batch of transactions will be proven and verified on chain, and a state update to the contracts will occur. Those contracts will support arbitrary logic, meaning you will be able to write anything you want with them. And this will actually be the first ZK rollup that is available to developers that support general computation, meaning up until now, there was no ZK rollup that allows a developer to just write whatever arbitrary logic they want and to advance the state with sending transactions to it. So this is the first step, and be ready to hear from it in a few weeks. The next step, okay, multi-Up Rollup, will take this building block of a Starknet contract and we'll put it in an Ethereum-like permissionless state. And you will you can expect everything that you expect from Ethereum. So you deploy a contract can interact with each other. Users interact with the system with transactions. Users will be able to sign either with a very efficient Stark proofs or with Ethereum, with a very efficient Stark signatures or with the Ethereum signatures. And we expect this to be on mainnet, meaning live on mainnet later this year, probably by the last quarter of this year. And what this, so I said that it will be an Ethereum-like state, but what it will offer is a massive scale. Again, I don't want to throw numbers in the air, but you can, they won't be very different from what we've demonstrated with StarkX, and hopefully even better, right? So this is the second step, and we expect it somewhere by the end of this year. And the last step is decentralizing the network operation of this ZK rollup. And the most important part of it, which we didn't have at step 2, is allowing permissionless operators and provers, which of course result in a censorship resistance network. Now, what is very unique in Zk rollup is that we are able, and since we are a layer 2, is that we are able to rely on Ethereum consensus in order to achieve very efficient leader election mechanism. And the validity proofs allows us to have very fast finality. Again, I don't want to throw things here, but in the coming months, we will write more and more about how we plan to build this network. And of course, we will use the crypto economics mechanisms to even further incentivize the efficient operation of the network. We won't use them in order to achieve the basic security properties, but we'll use them in order to make it much more efficient. Okay, perfect. So maybe if I go back to this slide, so step one is something that we already have today. We have Starknet deployment on mainnet. Cairo and the Stark provers are operational, and Cairo is open to the public. The step one and step two is something that we plan to have this year. And next year, we will probably have step three. Okay, perfect. So we've discussed our foundations, we discussed the roadmap. And I would like to sum up what are the fundamental advantages that we see for Starknet. So first of all, scalability. The layer 2 scaling solution, the first thing that they need to provide is scalability. And we think that Starknet have the best chance to provide the highest scalability possible. So first of all, off-chain, as I've said, we are able to generate the largest proofs. This comes from both the strong provers that we have and the fact that we are writing things in Cairo. So many optimizations are trivial to write in Cairo. For example, having a Patricia tree is something which is very complicated to do if you don't have a programming language, but once you have a programming language, Cairo is almost trivial to write. And on the on-chain part, we have the smallest data footprint. First of all, again, using Cairo, we are able to make huge optimizations on that on-chain data. Just to give an example, applying Hoffman tree on the on-chain data can reduce it by a factor and is not very hard to implement in Cairo. And second of all, we have many ideas on how to allow secure network, but minimizing the data on chain. And just to give one idea, we will allow developers on the contract level to decide which storage they would like to have on chain and which storage they would like to have off chain. And so everything which is required for the user custody will have to be on chain for the contract to be sound. But storage which is not required for the user safety and maybe only required for the functionality of the contract on L2 might not be on chain. And the flexibility that we will allow developers for deciding which data will be on chain or not, we think will have major advantages. So the first thing is the scalability. Second of all is the security. I think there's no argument that Zk rollup is inherently more secure than optimistic rollup. So this is the first thing. And the second point is, and I think is not less important, is that our technology stack is production tested. I think I said enough. But it allows us to have a lot of confidence that both approvers and Cairo and the paradigm of rollup is sound, and that, I mean, everything have bugs, but that we are able to discover them already in our work on StarkX. And lastly is the state finality. So since we're using proofs, all the state updates that occur on chain are final. we've written a lot about why this results in a capital efficient system. But I think one thing that was not much discussed in the ecosystem is the ability to create interoperability between L1 and L2. So since the state is final, once it is being updated, we will support a mechanism that allows contracts on L2 to call contracts on L1 and contracts on L1 to call contracts on L2. And since this call happens immediately at the state update, many interesting applications can be built on top of that. So if I maybe will sum up what I've said here. So Starknet is currently what Starkware is working towards, and it will offer a general computation, composability, and experience of Ethereum on one hand, and on the other hand, the security, the capital efficiency, and the scalability of ETHGlobal rollups. As I've said, it lies on solid foundations, and the roadmap, as I've described it, allows us to go in a stepwise approach, and first build the building blocks and then apply them to a larger system. So thank you very much for your time. You're more than welcome to our Discord server to continue the conversation and ask any question that you might have. And I'm really hope that you will build amazing stuff with Cairo in this hackathon, and I can't wait to see what you'll build. Thank you very much.